Hello, Raha. Welcome.
Hi,
So,
thank you.
Raha, you are a polyglot. You are okay. Here's some cool things. Okay, you're the first Iranian woman to swim Catalina and around Manhattan. You have a PhD in operations management.
Yes.
And tell me about this movie that you watched as a young girl, the woman who managed a factory.
Uh, it was a movie. I don't really cannot recall what it was. Not, it's not even a well-known movie, but it was about this woman who, against all odds,
Mhm.
goes and defies all the odds, all the difficulties, all the obstacles, and then eventually gets to this position. Of course, everybody tries to sabotage her. I think even in the movie, at some point her husband and her are working at the same company, and then they choose her over her husband to be the factory manager, and even at some point the husband starts to be jealous and does like sabotages her
Mhm.
journey. And then so that was very inspiring to me, in the sense that, oh, that can be done. A woman can
Mhm.
uh, do things that are not very, I don't know, conventional, very common, especially in Iran. So I'm talking about Iran in the 80s, right after the revolution, where the status of women had been very much declined in question. It was very difficult to do anything as a woman, and I was a young girl. I was a teenager, I guess, or even I think I was below 10 years old when I watched that movie. And then that kind of stuck with me. And then, of course, here and there, I also took examples of women. My own mother is also a very well-educated woman. We had several examples around us, or
Mhm.
around me. My father was also a very encouraging figure, in the
Mhm.
sense that he never saw me as a girl, he always saw me as a person equally capable of everything that a boy can do. So that, I think, all of that kind of came together for me to believe that I I can do things that are maybe not, at that time that I was growing up, very common, normal for women to do in that environment in Iran.
That,
Uh,
that's amazing. Many a times, yeah, like uh, like I mean, when we're doing difficult things, yeah, like most of the inspiration is just amongst us, right? Your parents, my mom, my dad, my wife's parents, yeah, like I mean, yeah, like very accomplished people, like they, yeah, like did things during difficult times, but they've all accomplished it, right? Yeah, so I see this
yeah,
thing with you as well. Yeah, that's amazing, awesome. Yeah.
thank you.
Wonderful to meet you, and uh, I know you've done some cool things in open water swimming. What was your first? Tell me about your swimming journey. I know there is also a
Okay,
story there. Yeah, I know. Tell me about
yeah.
yeah, like I mean, how did you become like this popular swimmer at this level of like swimming ability? Yeah, tell me about that. Yeah.
Well, I'm not nearly as popular or accomplished as anybody in the IMSHOF, but I'm very glad to have all of those people, including yourself, as role models, and people that I can look up to and learn from. But my journey started. So I loved the water from a very early age. We used to, well, I used to live. My mother still lives in the same apartment building, and
Mhm.
where there was an outdoor pool in the building, a small pool, like a like a 8 meter, probably, if I'm not wrong now. Back then, when I was a child, it was huge, and the first time my father kind of threw me into that pool, I felt like I'm gonna die. But I was, once I learned swimming and I kind of got friends with the water, it
Okay.
was very difficult to pull me out of the water. So everybody in the building knew that we had this rule that the kids could swim between 10 and 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and
Okay.
then between 4 and 6, not to bother the rest of the, like the people who want to take a nap in the afternoon or in the evening, they want to sit in their balcony. So there was this, so I was like there fighting. I think the last minute they would pull me out, and then I was the first one waiting for 4 o'clock to start, so that I can jump in. I really was very enthusiastic about being in and around the water always as a child. I learned swimming at a relatively early age. I think I was 6 or 7 when I learned how to swim, and I was swimming in that pool with my, with our neighbors, with my brother. All of them happened to be boys. And so up to a certain point, I didn't really notice that, oh, I'm a girl and they're boys, except for like the swimsuit that was different. We were competing and doing things. And I mean, they could beat me at bicycle, cycling or football or whatever else. But in the water, everybody knew that I am the winner of every, little kids race that we did in the pool. But then when my body started developing, that's again back in the post-revolution Iran, and I got to around 11, 12, then I was told that I cannot swim anymore in that pool because, I cannot basically wear a swimsuit and be outside. And then I also got my period, and I was like, it was very weird that how I was torn apart from that gang of boys that were swimming, and it was a difficult experience at that age for me to process and understand what's going on. So I would sit in the balcony and watch these kids, the rest of the kids, in envy that they can do whatever they were doing. Nobody stopped them. Nobody pulled them out. Nobody told them, oh, you are now becoming a woman and you need to do that and you need to be. My parents didn't believe in it, but because Iran was still is under this Islamic regime, we could not afford to, I could not afford to be in a swimsuit. I would have been arrested, or my parents would have been in trouble, because that's not how Iran works. You can't be out there even still without a scarf legally. Women keep pushing these limits, but still, swimsuit for sure, So then basically that was like a break from swimming and everything else, and then I started studying for the university entrance exam. So my focus completely shifted towards getting into a very good university. I loved always industrial engineering, because I learned at some point that, oh, that's how you get to manage a factory. Like that's the best, that's the best program to study if you want to become a factory manager. If you want to invent things, okay, do mechanical or electrical engineering. But industrial engineering and operations management was that, that movie was the trigger. Like, I want to manage a factory. So I fully shifted towards studying really hard. I knew that my ticket out of this very patriarchal society that I'm living in is getting into a very good university. So I studied really very hard, and I got into industrial engineering at one of the best universities in Iran. There, as soon as I entered university, and in the orientation, they gave us some forms about extracurricular interests, and of course I ticked swimming. And a few weeks later, I got a phone call from the head coach of our college, of our university. We are looking for one backup person in the team. So we have our team, and we are very successful, but the team needs to be 10 to be able to participate in the, how do you call it, intercollegiate competitions. There was this college Olympics, we used to call it. So we need to complete the team. So as long as you don't drown, we will take you. We don't you're not gonna swim, but and then I was like, okay, I'll be delighted. Can I join you at practice? And then she was like, oh, okay, you can't catch up with the team, but well, whatever. Kind of rolling her eyes. And then I'm very good friends with her still. Then I started participating in the swim trainings of that team. And I started getting better and better and better. And then actually in the first year, they put me on a relay, on one of the relay competitions. I was on the team, and then I got better. Yeah, so I kind of worked my way up. I got a few medals. I was not the best, but I got a few medals too. And our team won the competitions several years in a row. So that was another stunt at swimming, like this time a little more professional. I learned how to train. And so, but when the university, like when I finished and graduated and I went to work in the industry still in Iran, that also stopped. So I would just go to the pool for pleasure, or every time we went to the seaside, I'd just swim a bit. But this love of water was always with me. So every time I found any opportunity, I would just throw myself into the water until years later. When I
you also
so then
studied in the US, right? You did
yeah,
your
so
master's and
exactly.
yeah, right? Yeah.
So yeah, I finished my undergrad in Iran. I worked for 3 years in the automotive
Okay.
industry in Iran. Then I moved to the US for grad school.
Okay.
And there I actually worked as a lifeguard at our university
Very good.
gym. So that was also another connection, let's say, with the water. But I didn't compete or anything. I only in the breaks, I would just go in and swim for myself a little bit. Many years then after that I went to work again in the US, and I moved to South America. I moved to Colombia, to Bogota.
Okay.
And there then I started teaching at a university there, and we had a very nice pool at that university, so I started swimming. Then I met a few swimmers. Then they told me about this thing that's called triathlon. I really didn't even know what it was, and I'm talking about like around 20 years ago, or 17 years ago. And then so, okay, what is triathlon? Yeah, you get to swim. Oh, great, I love swimming, but then you have to run too. Like, no, I hate running. I really cannot run, possibly. But then they were like, okay, come and try. And then I started. So my first triathlons, that swimming part was in the pool, because Bogota is on top of a mountain. There's a dam. Once we also swam at the lake, behind the dam, but mostly it was like doing laps in the pool for like 1,500 or 750, and then get out of the pool and then do the cycling. And so it was fun and interesting, until there was one time that they said there's a competition in the Caribbean. And for the swim part, they take you to a key, like these sandy islands, like key off the coast of that island, and then you have to swim to the island from there. Okay. And I was like, okay, this is very scary, but I guess I'll follow other people. I'll see how I do. So I signed up and I went, and then when that was the first time that I swam open water.
So that was your first open water swim
ever? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, in the Caribbean. Yeah, that's the island is called San Andres. Okay. It's actually it belongs to Colombia, but it is very close to Nicaragua. So it's like up in the Caribbean. And so that 1,500 meters from that key to the island, in those blue waters and white sand and the wildlife underneath me, it really was a very transforming experience. And after that, I started signing up. Open water was not as popular as a public sport. Plus, in Colombia, there was none. So I started just signing up for any triathlon that was happening in, near any open body of water. And then until I learned that there is such a thing called open water swimming as a discipline. Actually, I don't have to do, because I was suffering at the running and cycling. Just to do the open water bit, I was going to different triathlon races. So then I was like, okay, I can just do that. That's great news. And around the time I was planning to move to Turkey, where I am based now in Istanbul, and one triathlete friend told me, oh, I've heard there is this incredible cross-continental swim in the Bosphorus. So then I started Googling that race. And then it was a few months before I moved here. And then when I came here, I started asking, and I landed at the university, and academics are not really that much into sports, especially my colleagues. Nobody was a swimmer. Then I was like, do you know about this race? It's like, oh yeah, we've heard something on TV one time I saw, but nobody had any clue. And my university here, they don't even have a swimming pool. So I found a hotel pool near the university, because I was staying at the faculty housing at the university. So I started training in that I don't even know how many, it was like a very awkward shaped pool. It's like, like one of these jelly bean kind pools. But I was like, okay, it is what it is. I have to train because one day I want to swim the Bosphorus. And I would, go by my car, cross the bridge, look at the Bosphorus. Oh, it looks very scary. Oh, I don't know if I can ever do that. But I kept training. Of course, on the internet, I had like really eaten up every single thing that was written about the race. And back then it's about 10 years ago now, 9 years ago. And it wasn't as popular. So there was not enough English material. So I tried to, translate, every single person I met in Turkey, I asked them, do you know about the race? Because in my head, I was like, there must be a community of swimmers that train for this race. There must be. I just have to find the connection. So I kept asking and until somebody, very random person, I only met her one time at a dinner. And then she was like, oh, wait a second. I think my dentist once mentioned that she has done that race. I was like, well, call your dentist right now. So it's like 9 o'clock in the evening. Call your dentist. So then she connected me with the dentist. Thankfully, the dentist spoke a little bit of English. And then the dentist connected me to her coach, who is an accomplished open water swimmer. He has swum the English Channel, and he's the first Turkish person to swim the Gibraltar. So then I got connected to that person. And luckily, exactly at that point, this coach, he was training for his second attempt at the English Channel. So he told me, okay, I'm training in the mornings at that spot, but in the sea every day. Show up any day that you are ready. You feel ready. And it was June and it was still cold. Cold as in like back then I thought cold. So then eventually I went and started training with him, or get into the water with him, because he was a lot faster than me. But I mean, he kind of watched me, gave me a few tips, and then went about his own training. And I was like, it was scary still to me to swim in open water, but I did whatever. And I remember the first time I did the training, and it was early in the season, so it wasn't that warm. Probably the water must have been around 18 or something. I came out, I went to a Starbucks nearby, got my coffee, and I don't remember anything after. So the coffee is on the table. I just put my head down, and then the next thing I know, I woke up like an hour later with my coffee cold. I had just passed out of all the stress and pressure, and but then I kept going back, and then I kept training. And then that same summer, I did the Bosphorus swim, and I actually finished it with a very good time, considering it being my first real open water race. And after that, I gained, of course, some self-confidence, and I felt like, okay, this was not that bad. I can do longer. And so when this coach, his name is Emre, we're still in touch. He also swam the English Channel. He finished, and we celebrated everything. And then he told me, would you like to come with me to the ceremony to kind of see what English Channel is about? I was like, okay, why not? When is it? In November. It was in November. It was the CSA ceremony. And there was him, and then 2 Turkish relay teams had finished the first, I think, double relay. So there were like a big Turkish group at the table that we were sitting. And then he told me, okay, yeah, you can come and you can, book this hotel, whatever. Bring your swimsuit too. And then in my head, we are going to jacuzzi maybe or whatever, but him, like they do this the morning after swim. So he just basically pulled me into the Dover Harbor. Now I know it's called Dover Harbor. Into the Dover Harbor on, I think it was 5th of November, with zero cold water experience for me. But when I entered and started swimming, after a few minutes, I started feeling the joy of cold water, that euphoric feeling that comes with swimming in the cold water. And I really, really, I know the moment that I fell in love with cold water swimming. And then, like right there, I promised the English Channel that I would come and swim her one day. And then from then on, I started looking for, okay, what should I do? I joined a swim trek camp. They have this, I think it's called distance week or something like they have a camp special for that. I met other swimmers. Then I had a slot booked in 2020. Then COVID happened. I couldn't enter the UK from Turkey. So then, well, that's also when I started. Let me go back a few years, actually. In 2019, with a group of Turkish people, maybe you know him, Emre Deliveli, and two other Turkish swimmers, they called me and said, oh, we want to do a relay. Are you game? And I was like, well, of course, like anything. So we planned to do a relay of the English channel. And around the same time, Kamil, who is a Turkish swimmer, he's the first person to swim the North Channel and a few other swims. He was attempting his second North Channel. So we said, okay, can we come with you and kind of be your crew and support and stuff? And he said, why not? And once we got there, Patrick, from the Infinity, because they're like, okay, you guys are all here. You're going to do a relay of the English channel. Why don't you do a relay of the North Channel and be the first, Turkish relay of the North Channel? And we were like, we were all there. We had trained. We knew what to do, except for the cold. Everything else was, all set. So we kind of looked at each other and I was like, shall we? Okay, why not? And so basically on the same day that Kamil got to swim, we also swam in relay, kind of parallel to him. So that was my very first, real big crossing. Then the same year, same summer, 2019, I think, we also went to the English channel and did the relay of the English channel. And then I started looking for solo opportunities, but then COVID happened. I couldn't go, and at one of these, when I was in Dover the second time for the relay, I met Nora. So I asked her to train me and to coach me. And then when COVID happened, Nora kind of suggested, like, okay, you can't go into England, but you can go to the US. Why don't you switch to Catalina? It's the same distance. You have trained for the distance. So we maybe a month and a half before I swam Catalina, we made this plan, and then I got a slot in October. I went, and then I swam.
Was that
in
2021 or 2020?
21.
21.
So 2020, I missed completely.
Okay.
Then there was then everybody was backlogged, so that I wasn't getting a slot. Then I did Catalina.
I remember Nora came to Turkey and did the Bosphorus swim with you, right? Which was, I think you guys did a non-official swim or something, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Something that you organized, with a bunch of friends.
Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah, way to go. Beautiful. Yeah. So you've already done a relay in North Channel. You've done a relay in the English Channel. You've done Catalina 2021. So how did you jump up from swimming in a kidney-shaped pool to how long is Bosphorus? Is it 3 miles?
Bosphorus is almost 6.5 kilometers, but it's current assisted. So it's like it feels like a 3.5K.
3.5K. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and then jumped into a solo Catalina. So how was it? How was that experience like? Yeah.
Catalina was it was my first solo long swim. And the fact that it started at night, as it does, it was a big, I had trained for the English Channel and its own complexities, but the night, the chunk of night swim, I was not very ready for. So here in Turkey, with one of my friends, we rented a fishing boat, and he came with me, and I swam an all-nighter from midnight to 6 a.m. to kind of get used to the idea of being in the dark for such a long time. The shark is another, was another scare. Yeah, it's there, but then of course with and I think many people around this community, as you know, it's like a family. It's like a very warm and welcoming family. So looking up at Nora, she also always says she's not very fond of sharks. She has that concept, but she's like, when you go in there, you just lock your head to the finish line and you just go. And then, you know, when you look at see her, you see other people who also have fear, you know, like they don't pretend, oh, I'm never scared of sharks. Oh, sharks are not, like, they really are very honest with their fears, and but yet they learn, they teach you, and they do hug their fears, jump into the water and handle them. And I think that gave me a lot of courage that, okay, maybe I can also do that.
Like, I mean, yeah, I know you mentioned fear. Yeah, like, tell me, like, more about how you deal with fear. That's an important like attribute that we as open water swimmers need to deal with. How do you deal with fear? Like, yeah.
So yeah, that's a very good, and you know, it's a tricky subject, right? And I think everybody handles it slightly differently. But for me, I have learned over the years that I've been swimming to be very honest with myself, like not to push them back or not to bury them or pretend they don't exist, but rather to acknowledge them. Okay, you are sitting there, you are here. Let's jump in together and then see what we can do. And then, okay, worst case, we just come on the boat. You know, like, I talk to my fear. I kind of like collaborate with it. It's like, let's jump in. And if you become bigger, we will come back on the boat. And then, you know, it becomes small. Like, I think I've developed like larger capacities for fear, but also training a lot helps a whole lot. Of course, you can't train for sharks, but you can train for the dark. You can train for choppy conditions. You can train for the cold. So I also try to expose, like, when I have a goal, like for Manhattan, for example, I knew that for 20 bridges, I knew that for some chunk of it, I have to swim against the current probably. And I did expose myself to a lot of against current that year to just have that training that I don't want to, you know, I want to minimize the number of times that I get surprised during my actual swim. So I just try to expose myself to different conditions. I think one of the biggest things that I've done in my life is to attend the Cork Distance Week with Ned. Last year, that was, I think, scarier than the actual English Channel swim that I was gonna do last year. I was like, I am a lot more worried because of the, you know, like, it has the reputation, and then I watched a few clips about it, and everybody talks about how cold it is and how dark it is, and it is really like. But after finishing that week, or it's like rather like 9 days, I felt like I am like 5 times more powerful than I used to be. And you know, getting over like breaking the fear also into bits and pieces and deal with them one by one. So I was like, okay, the first day I said, I'm just gonna go and just feel the cold. And if I don't, because Ned was also telling us all about, like, you know, you have to cut this corner, and then don't worry, you get some scratches on your body. But like, I was terrified. I was like, I'm gonna come out bleeding and everything. So I was like, you know, Raha, you don't have to do the lap. You can just go in the water, dip, and then feel the cold and come back up. So I like really, I pamper myself a little bit. But then when I went in, I was like, okay, I can swim around and I can be a little farther from the rocks. I don't compete because, you know, there are some, like Ned himself and some others compete. But like, I'm not in the competition group, so I can actually take the, you know, not so sharp corners, but go a little bit around.
You can join me, yeah. That's awesome. So you've Catalina, Manhattan, and then I think, when did you attempt English Channel? Yeah.
So my first solo attempt was last year in August. Actually, just 2 weeks ago was the anniversary of the attempt. So we swam. Well, I swam. Nora was on my boat as the coach. For 13 hours, almost 2/3 of the channel was covered until everything was going fine. The pilot was happy. Everybody was happy. Nora was smiling at me. And then at some point, I just saw some, you know, discussions on the boat, and Nora goes in, the pilot comes out, they are looking at something. And then I was like, okay, something. And then Nora's like, okay, I want you to go with the fastest possible speed for the next half hour until your next feed. Then I tried really hard, like, are we in trouble? And then she kind of like signaled like, yes. And then I tried, and then I could actually see the coast, but I could also see that we are going sideways very quickly. And then basically the captain came and said, there is an unusual current today that we didn't have into our calculations, and there is basically the only way you possibly make it is to do another 12-hour cycle. So we go up and then we come back down, and then we will see if we can land. And I had already swam for 13 hours, or you try another time. And then I was like, okay, to do another 12 hours and see if we can land. No, I can't I mean, I don't want to actually expose my body to that. I know that on a normal day, I'm not a fast swimmer. I'm around, best is 3K per hour. I don't even get to 3K per hour. I'm more like a 2.8K per hour kind of a swimmer. So I know that if on a right tide, if they choose a right tide for me, I can swim in about probably 18, 20 hours. But I didn't think like I want to do 25 hours and then see if we can or not. So then we decided to abort the swim. And then it was unfortunate, but interestingly, it opened doors, as always, it always happens. So I made that and then other doors opened in other areas because of that swim, because it was being covered on the Iranian diaspora news. So a lot of Iranian influencers, sports influencers reached out to me. I think people just sympathized a lot more when I couldn't finish than if I would have finished. You know what I mean? Like, if I would have finished, it was like, okay, wow. But then it was like, okay, there is this, she is a human being like the rest of us, and she can fail. And then so interestingly, people started approaching me with a very different, attitude, and kind of with sympathy, I must have hurt a lot. So then I started doing other things, including the activism. I don't think I'm even an activist, but I tried to do, other things because of these connections, because people reached out to me and said, like, as a woman, I really admire how you handled this whole thing. And then I was like, okay, like, like women are always expected to win or to finish or to accomplish, because there is so much fierce competition with men. Then so it was very interesting that this failure brought.
Actually, yeah, I just want to delve into this topic of failure. I know it opened up a lot of opportunities for you, but how do you deal with failure? Like what do you tell your kids? Like, I'm in university, so how do you deal with that? Yeah,
it was very disappointing. I got, of course, very angry, as I think everyone, because what we are talking about at more, like, English Channel has been my goal for the past 6 years now, 5 years into training, shooting for it, working hard at it, plus especially the last year that leading to that swim, I had worked very hard. I went to CDW, I did a lot of other things, plus it's a lot of money, like that just burns, and then that you have to come back, because it's not like you fail, but then like there has to be another time. It was frustrating, but at the same time, I felt like I was very clear that I had done everything in my power. There was nothing really left that I could have done, or I wish I would have done differently. It was just not the day. It was very clear that day was not my day.
Kind of as long as there, you can go back.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So then I mean, there were many waves of grief, waves of frustration, anger. What should I do differently next time? So then I made some changes to the way I train, to the boat that I'm gonna go with, and things like that. So yeah, I handled it somehow. I don't know if it was in the best way or not, but it is frustrating, as you can imagine.
I'm sure it has made you a stronger swimmer. I'm sure it
definitely has.
Swimmer. I'm sure it is like, I mean, got a chance for you to evaluate all your, well, like every aspect of your capability,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And I
That's
mean, one thing that I noticed was that I always had, I think everybody does, all of us always have the fear of not finishing.
yeah.
And when it actually happened to me, it was like now I'm a lot less scared of failure.
Failure, yeah.
Because it might happen again. I mean, there is no guarantee that the next time I try, but now I'm like, okay, I know how to fail.
Okay.
So
Very
I've
good.
got that under my belt. Yeah.
Beautiful, yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, no, you have some wonderful experiences, like life story, complemented with adventures. It's just amazing. I have two other questions. One is, I know you've spoken about like you mentioned somewhere, okay, making peace with your body. Like,
Yes.
what do you like? I'm sure this might apply to both men and women, right? Yeah. So, like, what does that mean? Like, what do you want to tell us about it? Yeah.
So I was swimmer, like when I started swimming more frequently and, putting more hours into it. And here, especially in Turkey, we have a group of people that we swim together. Of course, then, amount of time I'm in a swimsuit out in the public has increased. And of course, people look, and especially in a society like Turkey, Middle East in general, I think people are very judgmental and they're outspoken about, like, if you've gained weight, they make sure that they let you know, as if you don't realize it. So it's like a cultural thing too. In some other countries, it is at least like, even if you notice, you know that you should not speak about, especially like men towards women. Like, men usually don't approach, let's say in Europe, and tell a woman that they've gained weight, but here in Turkey, like, they do make sure, as if like it's their duty. They do it out of love, out of protection most of the time, but it's like, dude, I don't really like, whatever. So then I started getting these comments that, you're doing so much exercise, how come you don't lose weight? How come? And I think in the open water community, like in the people, like, I'm not definitely not slim, but I also, like, whatever. I mean, whatever I am, it's a body that can take me across great bodies of water. This is a body that is capable of accomplishing
Crazy
so
thing.
why so then I started, of course, I first started to diet, then this, and then like I realized nothing is really working. And no matter how much I lose weight, people still other people comment about other things of my body. And so then I started thinking about, like, it was annoying. It was something that was, I was on my nerve. I was trying to, come out of the water, wear a towel quickly. And then I was like, I enjoy being outside in my swimsuit. Why should I? I was doing this struggle. And I was at the time working with a psychotherapist for everything, for sorting out my difficulties in life. And this was one of the things that came up. And then we started working around, like working on it, working around it together. And then I kind of made it a mission for myself that to resolve this for myself, because I think that I learned, and I of course read a lot about body positivity movement, and why dieting for some people at least doesn't work. After a certain age, your body works differently. And I'm now, of course, also entering menopause, and I am in perimenopause, and the body is very I hope it's okay to talk about, because I really do want to talk. It is what half of the community goes through, where all the women, every woman goes through this. And then I also started thinking, like, I'm sure, I don't know, Liz Fry has gone through menopause, this person, that person. So I kept telling myself, like, my body is capable and will be capable of doing a lot. Why should I be bothered about how it looks? It really doesn't matter. To me, it really didn't matter, but because I was getting these comments. So then I started, I was giving an interview last year to an Iranian news media, a diaspora media, I have to say. And before the interview, we were chatting with the interviewer, and this came up. and it was a he, but he got very interested in it. So he's like, would you like to talk more about this? And I said, yeah, why not? And then in that interview, he asked me a few questions, and I started elaborating about what I think and how how it feels when people comment. And then that was like a long interview, about like 45 minutes, but those few minutes went very viral on the Farsi Instagram. And then a lot of influencers reached out to me. A lot of people reached out to me. It's like, oh, we exactly feel how you feel. We know what you do. Thank you for saying this. So then I realized, oh, this is something that a lot of people are struggling with, men included, as you said, but that as if everybody kind of takes the guilt on themselves that I am not doing enough to lose weight, rather than just standing there and say, like, I eat relatively healthy, I exercise, I actually do a lot of exercise, and this is what my body decided to look like. So it's not like, it really is not in our control, but we think that we can. And of course, with dieting, you can lose some weight, but most of the people cannot keep it off for a very long time. Or it isn't, I think it's even a gift that you can gain weight, because as you know, when people go for the North Channel, everybody puts on, and so the ability to put weight is also a blessing given the circumstances, like what you want to do with your body. So then all of these things started to, like, I am a lot more enlightened about the whole topic now than, let's say, 2 years ago.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, thank you very much for sharing your turning that an issue that's a taboo into a public discussion, right? Yeah. And one final question, okay. Before that, okay, how many languages do you speak, Raha?
So my mother tongue is Farsi or Persian.
Okay.
And I speak English, obviously, and I speak Spanish because I spent some years in Colombia, and I speak Turkish.
Okay.
So these are my, like, say, fluent languages, and then I do some French and some Arabic, but they're like intermediate level. They're not very good.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
And while you're teaching, do you get to tell all these wonderful stories to your kids?
I do sometimes. I do, because, like, when I want to, like, say, kind of push them, especially with the new generation, like sometimes if they're so hooked on the online world, like they are in a very different planet than where we are. So sometimes to kind of pull them into reality. And my university is also very encouraging with my swimming. And so every time I do a swim, they put it on the newsletter. We have this daily newspaper, online newspaper that goes out. So actually a lot of kids ask me the first day of the class, oh, are you that professor who swam, Can you tell us? So then they actually ask me, and then I get to, yes. And interestingly, it has somehow intertwined into my work as well.
Beautiful. So what's one message that you have for both men and women from all over the planet? Yeah.
All over the planet. I think find the passion, because I think that's, like, especially after midlife, you get whatever job you do, if you have a family you're raising, or how, like, you get to a point where it's like, okay, now what? Am I gonna just do this until I retire, or like I die? So what I have been very inspired with is that this swimming community in particular, but also in general, people who have a passion, stay younger, stay more playful, stay more joyful. Like when we get together and we go into the water, we're all like kids. But I also see that with, let's say, musicians, when they get together and they start playing, they go to a different planet. And I think for midlife and after, especially, this is very, very important to pull you through difficult days of life. Like during the pandemic, I think a lot of us survived on swimming, literally, or because of swimming and because of sports. So I think, yes, find the passion and stick to it. Even on the days that the passion doesn't give, because I've had days that I went to the pool and I felt like my body cannot move an inch. forward, but I still went back the next day, and I went back until again I got over that whatever whatever block that was in my body or in my mind. But that having a passion and feeling, okay, I belong to the swimming community, or I belong to the whatever X community is very, for me, it has been very essential.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. And when is your English channel attempt? When are you planning to go back?
So I was hoping for this year. I was on I was a slot 4 on 3 different tides. That didn't happen because this year the weather has been very complicated. So just this last week was the last tide that I had any hope for, but that was a slot 4. So I knew that but then next year I have a sure shot, like sure slot, let's say. With the English channel, you never know. But next year I will hopefully attempt again.
Wishing you, make training as hard as possible. Okay?
As possible.
That's your mantra as well.
Okay? On it. Yes.
Good luck, Raha, and thank you very much for your time. And
thank you. Thank you.
Cheers. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.